lots of hurdles, lots of fires to put out, a lot of new experience that we had. But the way we handled it versus if it was the Bree and Chance a year ago, oh my gosh, it's night and day. It's like everything. I'm like, it's not equating to death. We're going to be all right. Like, we're going to figure it out and get through it.
What's your plan for tomorrow? Are you a leader or will you follow? Are you a fighter or will you cower? It's our time. Take back the power. What's your plan?
Hey guys, welcome back to the Rebel Show. I'm Bree Mesquit, and as you can tell, we are not in my normal studio setup. Today, I have a very, very special guest, our coach and our mentor, Bedros Keuilian.
Yeah. What is up, Bree and Chance?
Hey,
it's good to have you guys here in our studio, but on your show.
Yes,
you.
yes. No,
Definitely.
This is awesome. Thank you for doing this. We
Yeah.
really, really appreciate it.
Thank you for allowing us to do this.
Of course,
This
man.
is awesome.
By the way, congratulations to you guys publicly on your marathon.
Thank you.
Why don't you tell your so let me get this right, because I know this stat is 1% of the world's population has done a marathon.
Yes,
sir.
But 10% of that 1% has done it on a trail.
On a trail marathon.
Yep.
A trail
Yeah.
marathon, which
Yes,
is
sir.
what you guys did.
Yes,
Yep.
that's what we did.
Yeah.
26.2. And at mile marker 21 and a half, 700 foot incline for, what was that, about 2 miles?
About 2 miles,
And
to the finish line.
It was,
Bro, I'd take an incline in the beginning, but you guys had it at 21.
21
yeah.
and a half.
It was going through ridges and down hills and valleys and falling
And
a
there was
mountain
a lot
bike
of
trail.
bugs.
It was
That's nuts.
it was intense.
How long did it take you guys?
9
9
hours.
hours. We
You know
don't need
what?
to talk
9
about
hours.
that.
That's not
kidding.
bad. Remember, for the short window of time that you trained
Mhm.
for it, and then for the fact that it was on a trail and not just on a paved straightaway.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
for you guys.
Yeah.
It
It was
intense.
actually
Thank you.
mountain bike trails. So we were like on whoop sections and like little
Berms.
berms and they're like chopping logs for us to be able to pass through certain
is
areas and stuff. It was
craziness.
pretty intense. So
Yeah.
Good.
yeah, but that's one of the things actually I want to talk to you about is like doing the hard things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like our thermostat has been raised now. And like
Yes.
maybe you could talk first a little bit about that, of the importance of doing hard things, challenging yourself,
Yeah.
and the mindset shift.
And look, you see it all over social media. You know, David Goggins, especially, who I think is an amazing human being. He's like, man, stay hard, be hard, do hard shit, right?
Yeah.
And we're
Yeah.
like, well, why?
Yeah.
Why do I need to do hard shit? Whether it's
Yeah.
an ice bath or like, hiking, running, lifting weights, doing all types of hard things. Because when you do, study after study has actually shown it. This is like scientifically proven and psychologically proven that when you are exposed to hardship over time, like you intentionally expose yourself to hardship over time, there is a thermostat, a mental thermostat of resiliency, of emotional strength, of mental toughness that increases.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden now this like your thermostat, what used to feel like a 9 or a 10 in terms of stress,
Sure.
after you do, in this case, you
Mhm.
trained for a marathon in like 6-7 weeks and then you did it, which was a feat in itself. Your thermostat has been set to a place where that marathon now felt like a 9 or a 10. So
Yeah.
any
Yeah.
kind of work adversity, life adversity, normal things that would feel like a 9 or a 10 on your Richter scale register like as a 2 or a 3.
Yeah.
And that's the cool thing about it, which means if something doesn't stress you out, freak you out, and mentally, emotionally breaks you, you can process through it.
Yeah.
But if we're like so stressed out where everything is an 8, 9, or a 10, then we start having meltdowns. We start reverting to alcohol. We start
Yeah.
smoking weed. We start overeating, emotional eating, stress eating. We start, saying, well, to hell with it. I'm done. I'm not going to do this, throwing in the towel.
Yeah.
And all we have to do is hard things so that we can start building the resiliency muscles.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really cool to now have experienced that and see, because it's one thing to hear about
Mm-hmm.
it than to actually live it.
There's something to be said. Good things come out of the hard stuff we do. you
Yeah.
know, and that's where it comes from for sure.
1,000%.
Yeah.
Well, talking about that, what are some of the biggest obstacles that you have faced at the beginning of your career? Because a lot of my audience are brand new, trying to go solo, build up, their own clientele, start their business for the first time.
Yeah.
What are some of the challenges at the beginning of your career that you experienced?
Yeah. And listen, I'm no different than your audience members because right now, obviously, Fit Body Bootcamp is an international franchise. We have hundreds of locations worldwide. Truline is a worldwide supplement line. Fuel Hunt is an apparel line that's sold all over the country. But before that, I was a personal trainer trying to open up one personal training studio.
Yeah.
So it's not much
Super
different
similar. Yeah.
than what we do in terms of waxing, right?
Mhm.
And personal training. It's a one client, one technician kind of service. And I was like, I think I can open up my own personal training studio. And I remember the first person I told this to was Jim Franco. He was one of my personal training clients also became my first mentor. And he goes, well, why don't you open it up? I was like, well, I don't have the money to. I thought getting the money to open up a gym would be the hardest thing. And I wasn't trying to open up a big box gym like a 24-hour fitness or LA Fitness. It was around like 2,000 square feet with like equipment in it. So I could do one-on-one personal training, maybe have some other personal trainers, just like, you know, a salon might have some other estheticians in there, right? So very similar. And I realized as I was opening that gym, like, wait a minute, I'm now competing against other personal trainers in town. I'm not just working in a big box gym like I was, where they're handing me personal training clients, right? Yeah. And I realized I got to learn to market. I got to learn to sell. Yeah. I got to learn to retain these clients. After I retain them, I got to learn to ask for referrals. When I thought getting the money, the $80,000 that I needed at the time, which might as well have been like $8 million because I didn't have it. And thankfully, Jim Franco was kind enough to loan me the money, and he charged me interest for it. And he became my business partner in my first personal training studio. I was like, all right, I got over the hardest hurdle. Yeah. Getting the money was not the hardest hurdle. Marketing, leadership, leading people was another adversity and challenge, because I've always been an introvert. I've always been one of those passive people, especially coming from a communist country where my dad kind of ruled the household with an iron fist. His whole philosophy was you're supposed to be seen and not heard as a kid. And so you kind of grow up not trying to, you know, rock the boat. You don't want to say what's on your mind because you don't want to hurt people's feelings or whatever. And so, but in leadership, as you know, you've got to communicate, you've got to cast a vision, you've got to hold people to standards and expectations and have key performance indicators in place. And if someone's not meeting their KPIs, you got to have those correction conversations. And I was like, oh shoot, raising the money was not the hard part. Communication was, leadership was. Learning to market, learning to sell, deal with competition, clients who all of a sudden like 2, 3, 4 of them quit and go elsewhere. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, my money just like, I just took a financial hit, not of like a few $100, but of a few $1,000s a month. Now I got to replace these people because like my family's depending on it. And so every one of those entrepreneurial hardships are necessary. And the best example I can use, because I'm sure you guys have been sharing your journey about your weight loss, right? And your fitness journey. Your audience has followed you as you've lost 50, 60, 70 pounds and more. And so it's no different. You go to the gym, you work out, you're doing resistance training, you're working out with weights, you're getting on the treadmill and you're burning calories, or you go outside and you walk on the trail or you do a hike, you're eating right. All of those things are uncomfortable. Like when you're lifting weights, you're sweating, the muscles are burning, you're sore the next day. There really is no resistance training for your entrepreneurial muscles other than actually diving into it. And then learning that I got to lead, I got to communicate, I got to cast a vision, I've got to learn to market, I've got to sell, I've got to retain, I got to ask for referrals. All those things individually in their own silo are difficult, challenging things that you have to learn and master. You have to have all these multiple hats to put on. And as you do, you start building these entrepreneurial muscles like you guys have. And you went from a vision of, hey, I think we can make a better wax, to now you've become an authority in the space. And that's the difference. It's time compounded by adversity creates excellence.
Quick interruption to the show. I wanted to make sure that you are aware of my free 6-week hard waxing 101 course that I have put out for waxers to gain confidence in the treatment room, no matter where it is in your waxing career that you are at. You will also receive a certificate of completion once you complete the course. So visit us online, lashwaxoc.com, and you will click the training tab. Now back to the show. So you mentioned your mentor. And I think that's something that, well, I know working with you and you being our mentor the past year has hyper speed our growth and our success, and really time collapse. I feel like we've grown like 2 to 3 years within this past year working with you.
People don't recognize you, by the way, right? I mean, this is
No,
you sent me a voice shot. I'm getting goosebumps talking about it, because that gave me an idea for one of my episodes on the BK show.
Episode 90.
Is that what I Episode 90 on the Bedros Keuilian show.
There you go. Check it out.
But remember what you were saying, because you're right. In it hasn't even been 12 months yet that we've been working together. But your family, your friends, people around you don't recognize you. It's been like almost 3, 4, 5 years of growth. Like you haven't seen them for those many years. And then you come back and you have a different look in your eyes. Your body shaped differently. You have a swagger and confidence. Not like you're better than them, but you have solved problems that they never thought they could solve. And you didn't know you could solve, but you did.
Yeah.
and you see the
100%.
world differently.
It's true.
It
You
is.
know,
It's
and you were like, dude, what do I do? Like, I don't feel like I fit in with them anymore. I don't feel like I want to spend time with them, not because they're bad people, but I've got like these visions that I want to have. And me and Bree like want to change the world with our product. I was like, bro, like take your path. Like they're not on the same path that you are. And that's a great lesson for your audience
Mhm.
because
for sure.
at the end of the day, like if you're like, I'm going to start a business and I'm going to do something that no one else is willing to do. I don't know what percentage of the population starts a business, probably similar to the percentage of people that run a marathon.
Mhm.
But that in itself is like a lifelong marathon. A marathon, you
Yeah.
train for 6 weeks and then you have that one day where you're in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
A business is like, the government's like, hey, surprise, I'm your business partner that's not going to add any value, but I'm going to take anywhere from 30 to 40% of your money.
Yeah.
Right? And you got to learn to push through that shit.
fun.
Yeah. Anyway, back to what you were saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, just the importance of mentorship and hiring a coach. Like for my audience, you know, what's your take on that? How important is it to hire a coach and mentor?
It's a
work with
requirement.
someone?
Like, I think if anyone is going into business and they don't have a coach or a mentor, they are literally asking to go bankrupt, get divorced, and consider going into the darkest places mentally and emotionally. Think about this. You're saying basically, if you're going into business, you're saying a business like I've created already exists in the community that I'm in.
Mhm.
That's the reality. Like when I wanted to be a personal trainer and own my own gym, there's probably like 5 or 6 personal training studios in San Marcos, California, near San Diego, where I was. But I was like, I think mine could be better. I think mine could be different. I think I could somehow stand out more, right? Well, you would never go to war without learning how to shoot a rifle and learn tactics and have like some kind of a structure of military ways. Well,
True.
You would never go into the Olympics just, I'm going to be my own. I don't need a coach. I'm going to be the best sprinter, best javelin thrower. Like you're going to need a coach to have outside eyes on you to go, no, your form is off, or no, that's not how you hold that rifle. Likewise, if you're going to invest money, time, energy, max out credit cards, take a second loan on your house, you're going to invest nights and weekends, and you don't know that the outcome is going to be favorable, and 85% of all businesses fail within the first 5 years.
Wow.
Of those businesses, the other 15% that remain after 5 years, 85% of them break even. The other 15% actually profit. Like, look at those numbers.
Yeah.
Now, don't you want to be on the side of the business model that profits from the first, year or two? Of course you do.
Absolutely.
And that means you need someone who's already walked down that path, has already kind of, figured out the obstacles and the adversities, and is like, do this, don't do that, do this, don't do that. Oh, I felt that. How many times have you guys sent me a voice shot? And I'm like, this is normal. Employees, sometimes employees will go sideways. They'll freak out. And when it happens, don't stress. Here's how you handle it. Or competition will say this about you. And when they do, take the high road, because you've got a great product, and your customers and clients will come to your rescue. That's what good customers and clients do. And you're like, oh my God, that's great. Versus like freaking out, stressing out, and then not being able to sleep for nights, or maybe putting something out on social media that you later regret. And so it is a requirement for someone who wants to open up a business to hire a coach who's already been down that path. Because I'll tell you this, you can have a business degree out of any college, any university, but professors, they don't practice. They just profess. You guys are in the trenches practicing. And if I was going to go and be a waxer or an esthetician, I'm hiring you. Like
They're just going through the books.
That's it. In theory, they're saying in theory this will work. Well, where in the books does it say what happens when there's a pandemic?
Exactly.
Right? You guys actually went through the pandemic, survived and thrived. Like you can teach an esthetician, whereas a professor could be like, well, in theory, there shouldn't be a pandemic. We're not in the 1940s anymore. I get it. But it happened, and it may happen again, right? It is a requirement to have a coach.
Yeah, for sure. And then not just for on the business aspect, but for the personal stuff too. Like I sent you that voice text, and then you helped me get through that mental state where I was at. Right.
Because you change so quickly, like where people change every 3, 4, 5 years in terms of like, oh, I had an epiphany. 3 years ago, I was drinking. Today, I'm going to stop drinking. Like people who are coaching with a great coach or mentor, like every couple months, you're like, I think I need to stop drinking. I think I need to stop watching television. I think I need to just cut out all sugars. I think I need to start doing something tough and intense to fortify my mind and my body. And so the change comes so quickly that you start feeling like, I don't even belong in my friend group. My family doesn't even understand what I'm doing. Like, is this normal? And to have a coach go, been there. very normal.
Yeah,
and now you just need to find a new crew of weirdos like you who are like, oh yeah, jujitsu and then work out and then eat clean and and then make a lot of money and help a lot of people. Yeah, that's what we do. And you're like, oh, this is where I belong.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what would you say to those girls, those new estheticians that are kind of like breaking the mold with their family? They're the first ones to, go down the entrepreneurial path, and their family isn't necessarily supportive. And a lot of times they have the best intentions, right? Because they don't want them to fail and fall flat on their face. What encouragement would you give to them? And also within that, the importance of who it is that you're spending your time with and surrounding yourself with.
Yeah, both great questions. And so what I would tell to those girls who are thinking of starting their own career and their own business in this world, I would say, look, your family does mean well. Your friends mean well. Your spouse or your significant other means well.
Yeah.
They're like, hey man, are you sure like you can do this? Because there's like 20 other waxers here in town. Like what makes you do it so different? But if you feel called to do it, there's a calling, like like a gnawing in your gut that you feel that doesn't let you sleep, doesn't let you eat, doesn't let you think about anything else other than I could do it better. I remember working at Disneyland, and I wasn't even thinking about opening a restaurant, but I was a fry cook and a dinner cook. After I became a busboy, they kind of elevated me to fry cook and dinner cook. And I was like, I think there's a better way to present the chicken and the steak on the plates. And I sprinkled a little parsley on the edge of the plates. And I was like, so proud of myself. Nice. I put it on the board for the service to take. And then Kathy, who I talk about in my book, my not so favorite manager, comes by and she's like, we don't put parsley on the sides on the plate. I'm like, yeah, I know, but doesn't it look more appealing? And isn't part of our thing not just we have a great tasting food, but it's also pleasing to the eye? She goes, until chef says we put that on the plate, we don't put it on the plate. I was like, oh, okay, got it. Like I felt stifled. And I was like, you know what? One day I'm going to own my own thing. Yeah. And yes, it wasn't going to be a restaurant, but I'm going to do personal training my way. Sure. It's going to be my way. The way I greet clients at the door, I'm going to know everybody by their first name. I'm going to make sure that I hug them or I shake their hands and not just, whatever. Hey, come on in, Bob, right? I was going to greet them like their family instead of just crossing my arms and counting to 10 like a personal trainer does in a big box gym. I always felt like I'm going to stand like a fighter and then put my arms down. I'm going to coach them from this position, right? Because if someone's counting to 10 like this is a very closed off position. So I share all this with you because people don't get what lives in your head and your heart when you're like bitten by the entrepreneurial bug. And so they're going to want the best for you. Like, play it safe, go work for someone. Are you sure you can do this? What if you fail? What do you know about business? You don't have a business degree, as though a business degree does anything. No one in our family owns a business. Like, well, are you crazy? What's that? But the reality is, if you feel the gnawing in your gut and you have it in your head and heart that this is what I'm called to do, you have to take the leap of faith. I'm not saying be careless about it, which goes back to a coach and a mentor. Like, there's someone out there they say success leaves clues. There's someone out there in every industry who has been successful and is actively leaving the clues. This podcast, you're putting out clues to estheticians and waxers, like how to do what they're supposed to do in the best way possible to monetize and to serve people. Success leaves clues. So you can get it for free from social media and from podcasts and YouTube. And then if you're really serious about it, you should pay to play. Pay money to the coach and mentor, just like you guys are paying me. And by the way, it's not like chicken scrap what you're paying me. Like, it's a substantial amount of money, but you are serious. And when you're serious, you take that leap of faith. Now, what I would tell people is like the family members around you, they're not going to understand. If you try and waste your time trying to get them to understand and accept it and agree with you, they won't. Show them. Show them over time and they'll go, you know what? I'm so proud of you. I knew you were going to make it. Like, you know what?
Right.
If I recorded our conversation 5 years ago, you were talking me out of it. Not because they have bad intentions, but they're afraid. They know they couldn't do it. So they just transfer those weird feelings onto you.
It brings out their insecurities in themselves.
Bingo. Brings out their insecurities. They go, I couldn't do it. So there's no way he or she can do it. Right. But the reality is you feel called to do it. Look, I always remind people this. Elon Musk put a Tesla in a rocket in so he put one of his cars in one of his rockets and he's shooting it out to Mars right now, right? If Elon Musk is like, I can put a Tesla in a rocket and shoot it out to Mars, can't you and I start a business here on Earth?
Yes.
We can. It ain't rocket science if we have a good coach and we listen to the coach. But the other part of it is, once you go from being an employee to an entrepreneur, you literally go from being a civilian to a pro athlete. Like, no one ever says that. You look at any pro athlete, pro basketball, pro hockey, pro baseball, pro football, they treat their bodies differently. They treat their minds differently. They're doing the hyperbaric chambers. They're doing You know, the saunas, the cold plunges. They have mindset coaches. They have emotional coaches. They have physical therapists. They have speed coaches. They have strength coaches, because they realize, like, I am competing at the highest level. If you're going from a civilian employee that, you know, works for someone and you can just turn your brain off and wax people left and right, to I'm going to be the leader, the boss, the CEO, and my name is going to be up on that sign. You better start changing your habits, the way you treat your body, your sleep, your behavior, your attitude, your mindset. Your emotional resilience better be strengthened, and you might have to disconnect from the losers that you hang out with. That's the only way I could say it. Because it's like we're going from amateur to pro very quickly.
And when I heard you say it a year ago, it's a gateway drug. I didn't know what that meant until now, and I'm like, holy shit, it really is. Because everything, when we started dialing in our health and our physical state, just the mindset fell into place. Everything, business started taking off, all of it.
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time. Yeah, it's all connected. People don't think it is. Like, I could be fat and out of shape and still be successful. You'll
to
be
a certain degree,
to a
but
certain
you
degree.
hit a threshold.
Yeah. And not only that, when the shit hits the fan, and the poop is always going to hit the fan at some point, right? If you are mentally, physically, and emotionally jacked, right? Like resilient, you're going to persevere through that hardship much better than if you are like physically soft and mentally and emotionally weak. That's just a reality. People I know it's like 2024, we're supposed to be like accepting of all that shit, but I'm not going to be accepting of mediocrity.
No,
absolutely. 100%.
Nor should we be.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I wrote down all of our revenue. I have it in my home office for the last 4 years, and the month that we really started listening to your show and focusing on our health and fitness, the numbers just continue to increase month over month over month. So it is truly connected. It's great.
What's your take on people going through the trenches on their own to realize that they do need a coach to go through the kind of hardship and the that kind of stuff, and realize
it's a lonely road? If not for any other reason to get a mentor or coach, it's because I don't know about you guys, or anyone watching or listening to this, but there wasn't any entrepreneurs in my family. You know, there wasn't. And so I couldn't relate to anyone in my family. None of my friends were entrepreneurs. And so it's a lonely road when you're in the trenches going about it yourself. Even a lonely road when you have a good day. Like if you have like a good week where you're like, oh my God, dude, I made 20 grand. You know those text messages you send me where you're like, oh my God, I hit a personal record.
It
I'm
feels
like,
good to be able to say that.
I'm so proud of you. Are you going to go and tell your working class friends and family, like, I just hit a personal best in my income? And they're going to be like, well, go yourself. Right.
And
then on the flip side, when you're like, oh my God, I just lost like a whole container ship of wax and it cost me like $90,000. We have no idea where it is on the world map. Okay. To tell your friends and family that, they're going to be like, listen, I have problems tying my shoe. Like, you're telling me like problems I can't even process right now. Right.
Definitely.
And so it's a lonely road. So if not for any other reason, when you hire a coach or a mentor, not only do they show you the path and they're able to time collapse the results and able to get you to your desired goal faster with less friction, but you have someone who's going to celebrate with you.
Definitely.
And then you have someone to lean on and go, here's what you do when the poop does hit the fan. And that's a good thing to have.
No, for sure. It is. Experiencing that for myself and for us. 100%.
I remember having my first $30,000 month as a business coach. And I was like, who do I tell this to, right? And I had like one friend I could tell this to because he's a fellow entrepreneur as well. Everyone else, I'd like bite my tongue because everyone else is trying to figure out how they pay their bills. But that $30,000 month was like the equivalent to me of like a $3 million month at the time because my monthly budget was like $4,000 a month is what I was living on. So, but it feels so good to be able to celebrate with people and also to have people go, I've been there and here's how you fix that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, it is.
So something interesting in our industry is a lot of girls are wanting to go straight from school to opening up their own business, but it's actually something I don't always necessarily recommend because they haven't yet gained the actual skill and technique of performing the service. So what would your take be on like gaining the knowledge and experience of actually, knowing the service and mastering it before now going down the road of now you're an entrepreneur and running a business. So having to learn the service at the same time as learning how to become a business owner.
Yeah.
So I always recommend go work for someone for a few years and gain that skill before learning to become a business owner. But I'd like to hear your take on that.
That is probably the best advice. And here's why. you know who Parker Landon is.
Yeah.
Right?
Good kid. Awesome.
Kid. Legacy
great.
Tribe.
Yeah,
you guys
awesome.
You guys get Legacy Tribe as part of my coaching program. And Parker he went through one of the first Squire classes. And so now he's like 18, 19-year-old young man who's in the Legacy Tribe. And he's putting out some hardcore, like, mindset and motivational content. Yeah. And if you remember what one of his questions was last week when I was doing the Q&A, he's like, man, my content's not getting any traction. I'm talking about like some mindset stuff and how to do hard things and how to succeed in life. I'm like, bro, you're an 18-year-old kid. I'm a 50-year-old battle-hardened entrepreneur. I'm not gonna I like his content because he's a friend. He went through the Squire program, a program that I run. But that's no different than when a young kid who's in their 20s is like, hey, I'm a financial advisor. It's like, dude, I could wipe my butt with the money you have in your bank account. Like, you're not a financial advisor, right? And so when you are new, the best thing you can do is get paid internship, working for someone else and letting them show you, teach you the way. Yeah, okay, you learned it in school, but as you know, the real life application is very different, right? Different skins, different people, different timelines. Someone's in a rush. Oh my God, I got to wax you and you're in a rush. Like, that's probably a whole different animal. And so the last thing I would want to do is come out of school, open up a business, even if I had the money, open up a business, screw things up so bad where now my reputation in the community is like, Bedros has the worst waxing salon on the planet. I'd rather get paid to develop expertise in my technique, number one. Number two, if that business that I'm working for is a successful waxing shop, I might even look around and ask questions of the manager or the owner. Hey, what's your marketing budget like? Hey, what's the best method of getting leads and clients in here? How do we ask for referrals, right? It's gonna be a paid mentorship. And I'm gonna make sure that I'm the best waxer there because I have to pay them back in some way beyond just waxing people. So I'm gonna be the best waxer. I'm gonna keep everything clean and organized and whatever. But then when a year or two have gone by and I feel like, all right, I've got the business understanding of it and I've got the technical understanding of it, then I'm going to hire Bree and I'm going to say, here's X amount of dollars. I'm ready to open up my own place. And now the success is almost guaranteed.
Yeah, definitely.
That's such confirmation because that's exactly what I did. I was working for a corporate waxing center and everyone had such a poor attitude about it. But I was like, I would even be the one helping fix a toilet and just like learning how, hey, how do you do inventory? How do you guys, because I knew that wasn't my end game. I wanted to collect as much information as I could. But then with that too, it's like, I feel like so many are caught up on collecting information, but they don't do anything with it. So if you could talk about the importance of not only collecting the information, but actually pulling the trigger and doing something.
Applying it to your life.
I've often said that it's not ready, aim, shoot. It's ready, shoot, aim. And the difference there is the information gatherers, especially today with the internet. Oh my God.
Overload.
There is information that you can just like drinking out of a fire hydrant. You will never run out of information on how to start a business, on how to market, how to sell, how to lead, how to communicate. And so you're just going to be gathering and never really executing. I've seen more success from the person that has taken one or two things that I've said and they've gone out and executed. So a motto that I live by is success loves speed, which really means that if you want success, you better hurry up and execute. And then money is repelled by complication. Money is attracted to simplification. That's just how it is. The simplest business models win. The most complex business models are like, man, the owner, the founder can't even figure it out. How's a customer going to figure out if I want option A, B, C, D, or X, right? And so we tend to overcomplicate, overconsume information, and then think we're not ready. It's like ready, aim. It's like, motherfucker, are you ever going to shoot? Right? How about it's just ready, shoot, aim. And then as the bullet is traveling, we course correct and we hit the target.
There you go. That's huge.
Exactly.
Wow.
It is huge. It is huge. Okay, I'm going to kind of switch gears a little bit. Being at this trade show, we had...
How did it feel, by the way, like being there and getting recognized? And
it was insane. We've had a little bit into this, but the girls swarming and asking for pictures and like all awesome. I'm just like, I'm weird and awkward. Why do you want to take pictures with me? Like I don't understand. But actually I feel more of a sense of like responsibility now because I don't ever want them to put me on such this high pedestal. Like I want to be a source of inspiration that if they take the actionable steps that I have as well, like they too can follow their dreams, support their families doing what they love. So that's what I was really trying to get across them. It's like, don't like celebritize me or anything. Like, but you know, you can have this too, but it takes a certain, you know, course of action consistently over time.
And it was awesome how many girls came up to us and her and say like, hey, like, how, like so you give me motivation to start like on my health journey and stuff. So that's been really cool.
Switch in the industry a lot. They're starting to focus more on they're seeing the importance of prioritizing their health and fitness. And that's really cool to see. And now I'm trying to figure out, I'm like, all right, where can I be of more value in this? Like, I know we've done it but yeah, just kind of help guide them.
Well, think about this too. I think I heard Tony Robbins once say this, that he said, entrepreneurship is the greatest form of self-development.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Right? Because you realize like, all right, as an entrepreneur, it's the buck stops with you guys. Like all of your employees can turn to the next person in line and go, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? The last person turns to you. You guys have no one to turn. Well, you guys can obviously text me.
Yeah.
Right. But as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, like the buck stops with you. Like you have to make a decision and then see if it was the right one or not. It's like, how much risk am I willing to take? How much of my own money am I willing to bet on myself with? Right. All those things like test you and your ability to commit to being an entrepreneur. And so that is a high level of self-development. And of course, that kind of leads into, all right, how can I deal with stress better? Well, I can probably go to sleep earlier. I can probably start working out so that I, feel better about my body and I have more energy and I can stop drinking coffee and energy drinks. And I should stop smoking. And before, it's like the slippery slope of like becoming a better human as you're making more money and serving people. Then you become an example to an industry like you are. Because they quickly realize like, all right, we live in an era of social media. And the reality is, I don't care how awesome of a waxer or eyelash person you are, if you're fat and out of shape and you don't look like the end product, no one's going to buy it. That's why they never show fat people on a McDonald's commercial.
That's true.
They show good-looking fit people.
True.
Yeah, you'll never see a McDonald's commercial with fat people in it who are like wearing loose basketball shorts and an oversized T-shirt with the hole right under the armpit and disheveled hair and eye boogers. Those are the people that eat McDonald's for the most part. However, if they showed the actual customer, McDonald's would be empty, right? And this is why
it's true.
You are a walking, talking example of your industry, and they have to become that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. And like, okay, so we talked about how supportive people were, but there's also those competitors, and we had some interesting experiences. But I was kind of reflecting on this. It's like because they don't hate me. They don't know me enough to even. They don't know me, so they can't hate me. I think they hate what I represent, what they could be, but they're not living up to their fullest potential. So I'm really trying to like get across to people's like, the community over competition, and then switching from that scarcity mindset to the abundance mindset. Waxing is a $10 billion industry on its own. Like there's enough for all of us. So what do you have to say about the competition and that scarcity mindset and some tools to help them switch gears and know that there's enough for all of us?
Here's what I know, and I probably have a different perspective than maybe a lot of the ladies who are listening to this, right? Because like Jocko Willink says, I've always been factory installed. My default has been aggressive. Like I'm going to lean into, I'm going to do things right. I'm going to be morally accurate. I'm going to live, by congruent to good values. Yeah. But I'm going to be aggressive. And if someone's hating on me or my product, and they don't even know me, it's likely my product, and also talking about how we're cutthroat, we're this, we're that. It's like, okay, I'm going to quietly put you out of business. Like I believe success is the best revenge. And so, but you also have to understand, the more you rise in any industry, the more likely you are to get attention. When you get attention, most of the attention you get is going to be from your competition, who feels like, I could have done that, and they could have, but they didn't.
But they didn't.
They chose to cut corners. They chose to be lazy. They chose to stay up late. They chose to drink on weekends while you guys were working on weekends. They chose not. Why would you do a marathon, let alone on a trail? Like, losers, right? Well, you just became more resilient, more mentally tough. And so if you guys are both horses, I'm going to bet on you two instead of them because you're more likely to win. And so they see the inequities in themselves when they see you guys succeed. And look, in the last 12 months, it seems like you guys came out of nowhere. To a lot of your industry, it seems like you came out of nowhere. Now, you've been in the industry for years, and you guys have been doing this for years. 13 years. But it's like the 13-year overnight success. And there's that bamboo plant where you plant it, and for 4 years, you're watering it, cultivating the soil, like nothing's coming out. And then there's like a 30-day period where it grows like 12 feet after 4 years of nothing happening to it. It's the same thing in entrepreneurship. You're just head down doing the work, but then, you know, you hire a coach and you come up with a great product, and then you decide, I'm going to put my head down and execute. No more around.
Yeah.
And then the last 12 months, you had like 10 years worth of growth. And your competition's like, that could have been me. I hate the fact that it wasn't. Rather than taking ownership of it, I'm going to shit on them publicly. Yeah. And so you could either dwell on it, and I'm telling your audience right now, especially women are more highly emotional than us men are.
No.
Right? And so, but take a little piece of advice from me. Turn that emotion of sadness and how dare they, why are they doing this to me, into anger, but don't take it out on them on social media because now you're stooping to their level, right? Yep. Instead, let them choke on your success. Be even more determined, even more committed, even more successful, help even more people in your industry, change even more lives, and then let them just self-destruct. And your customers will always have your back. But I think that's the best advice I can give is success will be something they will choke on, the competition. You don't need to join the hate fest. Because otherwise, my dad had a saying. He's like, if two people are wrestling, if a man is wrestling a pig in the mud, someone looking from the far is not going to know who the man is and who the pig is. Wow. Like both of you look like you're in slop.
That's good.
I mean? So why am I going to stoop? That. Yes. Why am I going to stoop to that low?
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah. And I think that's where Bree gets fueled on is that kind of stuff though too.
Yeah.
Because that's just like, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep running faster. Like, keep going.
Good for
they
you.
They don't understand. They're lighting the fire, man. Like, and this always happens when I start to slow down. Then I'm like, all right, it's time to get going again. So like,
I'm so glad you brought this up too, because, you know, I'll put up a social media post and I'll say, you know, hey, shout out to all my haters. Thank you so much.
Yeah. They're our biggest fans.
I'm always going to create faster than you guys can copy. Number one. Number two, I'm going to make sure that you choke on my success. And that's that. And then, you know, I always finish off that post by saying I've got rage in my eyes, chip on my shoulder, and fire in my belly. And then the people who read it are like, Bedros, like, what's the point of being successful while being so angry? I'm like, look, if God gave us anger and joy and bliss and compassion and grace and kindness and jealousy, it's a tool on our belt. There's going to be times where anger is going to be good. Like, you know, we always hear about the story of many years ago, some mom was driving through some woods, has her little kid in the car seat in the back. The Jeep flips over and the Jeep has the kid's leg pinned. Ooh. The mom, like mama bears would do, like is able to single-handedly like lift enough of that Jeep in that corner to pull her baby out. Now, she didn't at that point use love and compassion. She used rage and bloody murder. Like, what the my baby and I are not dying here today. Like, it was anger and rage that she used. And so it's a weapon. And sometimes we have to weaponize our rage and anger and frustration in a good way to succeed even more, to fuel our success. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm definitely seeing that for sure. Okay, switching gears again on you. Yeah. So I feel like the fitness industry is very similar. We have it because we're working with clients and one-on-one. So how did you create the best overall like client experience to keep it? I feel like a lot of the girls I'm talking to, they're so focused on bringing in new people, but not also focusing on retention. So they're leaving out the back door just quickly as they're coming up front. So how do you create like the best overall client experience?
So this is where I have to give credit to Disney. When I worked at Disneyland, before I would even, so they hired me as a busboy, right? Like, hey, you're going to be a busboy at Carnation Cafe on Main Street. I was like, okay, cool. I'll be cleaning up tables and schlepping around dishes and cups, probably smelling like hot dogs and mustard at the end of the day. Like, I knew what my fate was as a busboy. So I was ready to start bussing tables the next day. And they go, all right, tomorrow you're going to report to casting, because they don't call Disney employees, they call them cast members, and they call the customers guests, and we're all putting on a show. So that's how the Disney thing works. I'm going to report to casting. Okay, got it. Maybe I need to fill out paperwork. So you fill out paperwork. Then you spend the next 2 weeks in what they call Disney University. Doesn't matter if you are going to be bussing tables, if you're going to be a janitor in the back cleaning the employee toilets, or if you're going to be the next Cinderella in terms of a character. You're going through Disney University first, and they teach you, like, if someone asks for you to take a picture, here's exactly how you're going to take the picture. And then after you take the picture, you're going to say, hey, are there any rides that you're looking to find that I can point you? So you don't just give them what they ask for. You exceed expectations, was the Disney way. Hey, by the way, here's your picture. And what rides were you looking to go on next? I can point you in the right direction because Disneyland's pretty big, right? Or if there's a family and they have someone in a wheelchair or a stroller, a child in a stroller, and they're like, hey, which way to the restrooms? If someone is below your eye level as a cast member, you drop to your knee. And so you're talking to the lowest person in terms of height. And you don't point with one finger, you point with 3 fingers, like the restrooms are that way. And you're like acknowledging the shortest person in the group. And they had all these things, like if you have to be late from your break because there's a parade going on and people want you to take pictures for them while the parade floats are in the background, like you do that, you exceed those expectations. So 2 weeks of Disney University taught me that the guest experience was everything. Now, today in the world of Yelp and reviews and social media reviews, etc., it is like paramount that you do that. And so you have to not only treat people like as though they're a guest in your house, you have to treat them like as though they are the most important. Like if royalty came, every single client needs to be like the queen mum. The queen mum has come to get her coochie waxed, right? And if the queen mum comes to your place to get her coochie waxed, they're going to be like, yo, queen mum. And I get it, she's dead now, right? But if she comes, you're going to treat her very differently. You treat every person that way, exceed their expectations, understand what it is. What is the conversation in their head? Are they like, oh my God, is this going to hurt? Is this going to hurt? Hey, I know you're here. It's probably, you think it's going to hurt, but as it turns out, it's not going to hurt. And here's why. Here's the thing that we use. We put this topical thing on first, and then we do this thing. And they're like, oh my God, she solved all the questions I had in my head that I was afraid to ask because I didn't want to seem stupid. Like that is exceeding expectations. Oh, by the way, is this your first time? Yeah. Listen, if I do my job right, can I ask you to click that little QR code on your way out and leave us a review on Yelp? It would really mean a lot to me. And oh, by the way, I'd love to offer you a 20% discount for next time. If you refer a friend, you can just do a text introduction, right? Oh, by the way, is there any other, do you need a lash person, an eyebrow person, an injection filler person? Because if you do, I'm pretty well connected here in the community. I can send you to the right person so you don't go to the wrong person. And they're like, oh my God, she just waxed my coochie. And now she's like helping me out with other right? I'm just going to keep talking about waxing coochie.
Coochie as many times as you can.
I'm really getting coochie in this episode. But you get the point I'm making.
Yes, absolutely.
Like you have to exceed those expectations. You have to make sure if they're waiting, hey, you know what? I'm running a little late. It's going to be about 10 minutes. Instead of them just assuming that they're running late, let them know what's going on. Like we're all understanding. But if you just pretend you don't see me and you're still waxing coochies and you're 10 minutes into my time, how about, hey, I'm running 10 minutes late. I'm so sorry. I apologize for this. Can I get you a cold water, right? Definitely. Or can I change the channel if you have a TV? Or can I put your favorite music on? You're showing that you're having some level of compassion and understanding. Those are the things that are necessary where customer and client experience is concerned. Because today we live in such a competitive world, number one, that I've got options. I'll go get waxed elsewhere, number one. Number two, someone has one bad experience. It used to be that, they might go tell their spouse because there is no Yelp and social media. Dude, now they might have a following and they're like, all right, so I went to this coochie waxing place and they did a horrible job. And so here's what they're called. And I recommend no one ever go there. You're like, oh my God, they just put me out of business. You just assume every single person is royalty and you treat them as such. You exceed their expectation. You make them feel heard and understood. You will never, ever, ever have a customer service issue. In fact, you will rise to the top of your industry so quickly you won't know what happened.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's how we've done it. That's how I've done it with my clients. Exactly that. Okay, this will be last over getting short on time. I wish I could have you here for hours and hours. But
we'll do another episode. We'll have a part 2 in the future.
Awesome. So we always talk about, the no trust factor, building that. And I feel like the customer experience starts with your marketing. And for us, a lot of us utilize Instagram and social media. So it starts there. So I'm seeing people on these Facebook groups and stuff. I'm posting and nothing's happening. So can you talk a little bit about what they should be focusing on posting and how to add value through their social media and start to convert those followers from followers to customers?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So first of all, if they're posting, they need to be posting on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. And when I say YouTube, I mean YouTube Shorts. Treat YouTube Shorts as though it's TikTok or Instagram. That's the best way I can describe it. No one says that they have to make a long form episode like you do every week, but if they did, even better. But forget about the long form for now. Number one, you got to do those 4 platforms. Number 2, you got to do those 4 platforms every single day. So understand that when you go and become an entrepreneur, you're also now in the business of content creation. Because in the old days, before social media, you're still going to be marketing. You're going to go to local businesses and talk to the local business owners like, hey, you know, I'm a waxer. I do eyelashes. I do whatever. You know, can you refer people to me? And I'll refer people to your dress shop or to your jewelry store. You're going to spend the time marketing somehow, or you're going to hire someone to design a postcard and send it to homes, or you're going to get a bus bench or something. That same amount of time needs to be dedicated to you creating content every day. So the question is, what does the content consist of? So we know it's content across those 4 platforms. We know it's content that has to be done at least 5 days a week consistently. And then in addition to that, the content needs to consist of this. Half of the time, it needs to be how-to videos, like how to wash or take care of your eyelashes, before and after for waxing. What is the best type of wax to use? What is the best skin treatment?
Rebel wax.
There you go, right? Rebel wax, the best type of wax.
Shameless.
There you go again.
I actually, I'm not gonna stop
That's
this.
the fourth or
In fact, on the next podcast, I'm going to be talking about coochie waxing, and has nothing to do with wax.
Right.
Yeah. I was going to be pitching Rebel wax on the next show. But seriously, they need to put out how-to videos, as in how to take care of your skin, how to take care of the service that you just got. And then the other part of it is they need to put out testimonials, social proof of like a client's before and after, and their experience. Like, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, if I can give you a great experience here, can I ask you to just make a 20-second video on what the experience was? I'll hold the camera. You just tell me like, hey, I thought it was going to hurt. Turns out it didn't hurt. The place is clean and awesome. It wasn't hot and sweaty. Everything was, everything looks well disinfected and etc. I would definitely recommend coming to this waxer anytime you're in Chino Hills or whatever. But you want social proof, because at the end of the day, you can say how awesome you are all day long. It's your job to say how awesome you are. It's your job to say how awesome Rebel Wax is. But when you have all these waxers nationwide, worldwide saying how awesome Rebel Wax is, that is why I'm going to buy it if I'm a waxer, because other people, my peers are saying how awesome it is, not you. And so half of the time you're going to be putting out how-to content, like how to take care of your skin, your lashes, frequency of getting waxed, what type of wax is good, what type of wax is irritating to the skin, all like educate the people. And then the other half of the time put out social proof and evidence that you are good at what you do. When people go, I love this place, like a video or before and after with a caption. And fourth and final thing is you got to have a call to action. The call to action is, hey, if you want results like this person got, slide into my DMs or click here on this link and go to my website and get on my calendar or my scheduler, and we'll start working on you. But it's the consistency of content over time. Again, goes back to anything, right? Like if you guys just did one training and that was it, and never, you would die on that trail. But you guys trained for weeks. Training kind of compounded on itself, and you were able to do that marathon on a trail. Same thing here in business. It compounds over time. Content consistently over time compounds. And if we do that, we're successful. If we don't, then we end up really just like figuring out, why did I go into business in the first place? Maybe I should have like stuck to working for someone else. Like show your personality. Sure.
Be authentic.
You guys are so good with showing your personality. Like when you go on there, you show your personality. You're intense. You're funny. You're quirky. Like people love personality. At the end of the day, if you all look like drones, you're trying to be like the perfect waxer or the perfect, like, come on. You know what
I see so much copy and paste in our industry too.
We don't want that. Think of all the people in our life that we like. We're like, oh, they're funny, they're entertaining, they're captivating. It's all the people that stand out because they show the real personality. We all have it. It's just as soon as we like go into social media mode, we're like, oh, I better be a drone robot and do like what everyone else is doing. That's so stupid.
That's one of the biggest compliments we receive meeting people in person. They're like, oh my gosh, you guys are like the same as you are online. And plus that would be so much pressure to be trying to have one persona, something like I can't do. I don't have enough time. I'm focused on building my business.
Could you imagine that? Yeah,
no,
exactly.
No, thank you. No, thank you. Well, thank you so much for doing this, B. We really appreciate you. We appreciate your coaching and mentorship. And definitely give B a follow if you don't already follow him. And then 98% of you are not subscribed, so we got to change that. So if you could press the subscribe button, make sure you like, share this with a friend, and we will see you back next week.